What worrisome trend in society are you beginning to notice? Ads in the comments section. Believing all the advice given in TikToks or Instagram videos without doing any research edited to ad. Reddit, Facebook, podcasts. Literally all social media platforms. Believing all the advice given in TikToks or Instagram videos without doing any research edited to ad. Reddit, Facebook, podcasts. Literally all social media platforms. The total lack of awareness of others is becoming a significant issue. You see it everywhere, on the roads, in supermarkets, and in public spaces. People seem to be moving through life like zombies, completely absorbed in their own worlds, ignoring those around them. Whether it's cutting someone off in traffic, blocking aisles in stores without a thought, or just dismissing common courtesies, this behavior reflects a growing selfishness. It's as if we've forgotten how to consider others, making everyday life more frustrating and isolating for everyone involved. It's troubling how media and news outlets increasingly disregard accuracy and facts. Their focus has shifted to generating clicks, as each one translates into profit. This click-driven approach often leads to sensationalized headlines and misleading content, prioritizing revenue over truth, which erodes public trust in the media. Media literacy seems close to non-existent. Lack of critical thinking. It's alarming how many people believe everything they see on social media. Fake news, manipulated images, and misinformation spread like wildfire, and many don't take the time to fact-check. This creates confusion and division, making it hard to know what's real anymore. Distracted driving is becoming an increasingly dangerous issue, possibly even more so than drunk driving. With smartphones and in-car entertainment systems, drivers are often not fully focused on the road. The split second it takes to check a message or adjust the GPS can lead to devastating consequences. Unlike drunk driving, which has been heavily stigmatized and regulated, distracted driving is still not taken as seriously, even though it's just as deadly. The scary part is that it's everywhere, and the statistics keep rising as technology becomes more embedded in our lives. Everyone is so mean. The complete lack of internet safety and tech literacy among kids is deeply concerning. Children are growing up in a digital age where they have access to the internet at an early age, but many lack the necessary skills to navigate it safely. They often don't understand the risks of sharing personal information, interacting with strangers, or falling for online scams. This gap in knowledge leaves them vulnerable to cyberbullying, identity theft, and other online dangers. Schools and parents need to prioritize teaching these essential skills to ensure that kids are equipped to handle the digital world responsibly. Tipping fucking everyone? The rise in extreme cosmetic procedures and surgeries among young women is a troubling trend that reflects deeper societal issues. Social media, celebrity culture, and unrealistic beauty standards have created an environment where young women feel immense pressure to alter their appearances drastically, often before they've even fully developed their natural features. What's particularly sad is that these procedures are often promoted as empowering or necessary to achieve success and happiness, leading many to undergo surgeries with significant risks and lifelong consequences. Moreover, this trend perpetuates a cycle where natural beauty is undervalued and self-worth becomes increasingly tied to appearance. The psychological impact can be devastating, leading to issues with self-esteem, body dysmorphia, and mental health struggles. It's a heartbreaking reflection of how deeply superficial values have infiltrated society, prioritizing looks over well-being and inner confidence. It's concerning that many intelligent and kind-hearted people are choosing not to have kids, while those with less desirable traits continue to reproduce without much thought. This imbalance could have long-term negative effects on society, as it may lead to a decline in the overall quality of the gene pool, potentially impacting future generations. The phrase, "you'll own nothing and be happy," seems to be becoming a reality as everything shifts to a subscription model. More and more, the things we used to own outright are now rented or leased. On top of that, the cost of actually owning anything substantial, like a home or car, is soaring beyond the reach of the average person. This trend is stripping away financial independence and leaving people feeling powerless and trapped in a cycle of perpetual payments. The polarization of people and opinions is becoming a major issue, with no room left for a middle ground. It seems that everything is viewed in extremes. There's no more grey zone. If someone makes a mistake, the response is either to vilify them to the point of ruining their life or, on the other hand, to elevate them to an unrealistic pedestal. This black and white thinking creates an environment where perfection is expected, leaving little space for people to make mistakes, learn, and grow. It's increasingly difficult to be human in a world where nuance is lost, and everyone is judged harshly for any misstep, no matter how small. The result is a society where fear of making mistakes stifles personal growth, open dialogue, and genuine understanding between people with differing viewpoints. People on Facebook believing that AI-generated images are real. The enshittification of everything is a depressing reality we're facing today. Companies that once provided excellent services are now intentionally degrading them to extract more profit. What started as a few ads has exploded into a landscape where ads are omnipresent, even in services for which we already pay a subscription. This relentless drive for profit has turned what were once competitive companies into bloated monopolies, gobbling up all their rivals until they no longer need to compete. This lack of competition has bred a toxic environment where employees are treated like disposable resources, subjected to timed bathroom breaks, constant surveillance that borders on privacy invasion, and the erosion of full-time positions in favor of contract work to dodge paying benefits. The obsession with endless growth not only devastates the planet, but also squeezes everyone, customers, employees, and even competitors, into submission. We're left with a world dominated by a few giant, faceless corporations run by billionaires who are never satisfied with just owning a mega yacht. They must extract even more value to upgrade to a gigayacht. These corporations now control our political processes and won't be content until they can control our very thoughts, wiring us up to ensure we think exactly what they want us to think. Corporations have never been benevolent by any means, but this incessant pathological desire to be even richer feels recent. It's fucking gross and obscene, and it needs to end. We are already living in a post-truth world where facts are becoming increasingly irrelevant. This is largely due to the influence of mainstream media and social networks, which have turned into platforms for spreading misinformation. People now create and spread any falsehoods they want to push their political, commercial, or social agendas, and the masses eagerly consume this misinformation, especially if it aligns with their personal beliefs. By the time these lies are exposed, it's often too late. The falsehoods have already spread like wildfire, being accepted as truth by countless people across the globe. As a result, history is being rewritten in real time, with distorted versions of events replacing the facts, leaving us in a world where truth is constantly under siege. The growing lack of desire for privacy is alarming. While privacy is crucial to me, it seems like most people don't value it anymore. With everyone oversharing on social media and companies collecting vast amounts of personal data, it feels like privacy is becoming a lost concept, something that many don't even miss. Edit. I meant posting private lives on social media, but a lot of you brought up other privacy-related concerns that are scary too. Living your entire life through a screen is becoming a disturbing trend. The generation of iPad kids is now growing up, and many of them struggle with basic social skills. They're so accustomed to interacting through screens that face-to-face communication has become a challenge. These kids often find it difficult to hold a normal conversation. lacking the ability to read social cues, express emotions, or engage in meaningful dialogue. This over-reliance on technology not only isolates them from real-world experiences, but also hampers their ability to connect with others on a deeper level. As they enter adulthood, this could lead to a society where genuine human interaction becomes rare, replaced by shallow digital exchanges. There's a growing lack of compassion and minimal community involvement these days. People seem more self-centered and entitled, driven by social media and a fast-paced lifestyle. This main character energy is turning everyone into self-absorbed individuals, with technology amplifying these negative traits. It's sad to see how it's bringing out the worst in people. Everyone seems eager to pathologize and categorize every aspect of the human experience these days. While it's great that mental health topics are discussed more openly, not everything people do is a sign of some mental illness. We're losing sight of the fact that it's normal to be imperfect, to have days where productivity isn't at its peak, and to experience a range of emotions, including negative ones. The constant drive to label every behavior or feeling as a disorder can be harmful, creating unnecessary anxiety and unrealistic expectations. It's important to remember that being human means embracing our flaws and understanding that not every struggle needs a diagnosis. It's frustrating to see people move to different countries because they want something different, only to become upset when things aren't the same as back home. Often they're fleeing discrimination or violence, but then they bring the same prejudices with them, projecting their original views onto others in the new country. This contradiction creates tension and undermines the very diversity they sought in the first place. Instead of embracing the new culture, they end up reinforcing the same issues they were trying to escape, making it difficult for true integration and understanding to occur. The growing disinterest in becoming a doctor is setting the stage for a severe healthcare crisis in the United States. Over the next 2 decades, the country is facing major shortages of healthcare providers, particularly in the South and Midwest. These regions are at risk of becoming medical deserts, where access to basic medical care is nearly non-existent. Urban hospitals, meanwhile, are expected to become severely overloaded as they struggle to cope with the influx of patients from both within and outside their areas. As access to preventative care dwindles, people will become sicker overall, placing even more strain on an already fragile system. This could lead to a vicious cycle where the healthcare system becomes increasingly burdened, eventually reaching a breaking point where it can no longer function effectively. The implications are dire. Not only will individual health suffer, but the societal impact could be devastating, with widespread consequences for public health, economic stability, and overall quality of life. Without significant intervention, the future of healthcare in the US looks bleak as the system edges closer to a potential collapse. Edit. To be clear, when I say no one wants to be a doctor anymore, I mean because the current system is horribly broken and there is little incentive to make the sacrifices worth it. The increasing use of social media by younger kids is concerning. They're being exposed to a world of content they might not be mature enough to handle, which can lead to issues like cyberbullying, anxiety, and unrealistic expectations. The lack of proper guidance and monitoring makes it even more dangerous, as kids can easily fall into harmful online behaviors without fully understanding the consequences. The growing intolerance toward others is palpable. We all sense it, whether in daily interactions or online, and it's creating a more divided and hostile world where empathy seems to be fading. Filming people without their knowledge or consent is getting way out of hand. It's disturbing to see how people film homeless individuals in distress, tagging it with insensitive captions like "Lmao life in New York" on TikTok. This complete lack of empathy and self-awareness highlights the content-seeking mindset that values views over basic human decency. It's a sad reflection of how desensitized we've become. Adults with poor listening skills are becoming increasingly frustrating to deal with. When engaging in conversations with people my age or older, it's common to be interrupted, talked over, or have them tune out after just the first few words. This lack of active listening leads to a situation where I'm forced to repeat myself multiple times before they finally grasp what I'm saying. It's not just annoying, it also reflects a broader issue where meaningful communication is breaking down. The inability or unwillingness to truly listen diminishes the quality of interactions, making it harder to connect, understand, and engage with others on a deeper level. It's disheartening to see how being nasty to someone has become socially acceptable if you don't like something about them. People seem to think that any minor dislike or difference justifies unkind behavior, but there is never a valid excuse to be mean without provocation. This mindset only fosters more negativity and hostility, making the world a harsher place for everyone. It's troubling to see a growing number of people becoming illiterate in an age where access to education and information is more widespread than ever. The decline in literacy skills not only limits opportunities for individuals, but also weakens society as a whole, as fewer people are able to engage critically with the world around them. It's alarming that Pornhub garners 42 billion views annually, with 90% of the most popular titles featuring violence against women. Even more concerning is that the average age of first exposure to porn is just 8-11 years old. This early exposure, coupled with the normalization of violent content, may be contributing to the disturbing 90% increase in deaths by strangulation over the last decade. Andrew Tate has more than 13 billion views. It's horrifying to see a woman with broken blood vessels in her eyes from being strangled receive hundreds of thousands of likes on TikTok for bragging about letting her boyfriend choke her unconscious. The fact that this kind of dangerous behavior is being glorified and celebrated online is deeply troubling, as it normalizes abuse and sends a harmful message to others. Thousands of subreddits dedicated to the abuse of women, like the one called Dead Eyes, where men jack off to porn featuring women being abused, who have a look in their eyes like they lost the will to live, or the one dedicated to jacking off to pictures, videos and news stories of women raped in war. The one dedicated to jacking off to true crime stories of women raped, mutilated and murdered, etc. I've seen men asking for tips on how to abuse women, how to find women with mental health issues that will let them do anything, or go to poor countries and take advantage of underage girls and trafficking victims, laughing about buying an underage prostitute in Mexico and making fun of the way they cried, or posting photos of a hole punched in a wall and comparing it to a woman's gaping asshole after he abused her. Pictures of naked women used as inanimate objects with men placing their feet or meal on her ass. Men saying they don't want to waste their time raising a daughter and then comparing a baby girl to a fleshlight. In a study of 22,000 women when the word rape wasn't used, 90% had experienced unwanted sex or sex acts. Sexual abuse of women is so normalized they don't even recognize it, and 51% of women have been sexually assaulted by a partner while asleep. The move away from community is a growing and concerning trend that's occurring globally. People increasingly don't know their neighbors, wouldn't recognize them on the street, and might not even help in an emergency. This shift away from community is dangerous, as human civilization was built on the foundation of communal support and cooperation. Without it, we risk the breakdown of society. The lack of community also leads to more conservative and eventually extreme behaviors and attitudes as individuals become more isolated and self-centered. When people care only for themselves, it erodes the social fabric that holds communities together, leading to a fragmented and less compassionate society. It's sad to see vulnerable men getting drawn into harmful red pill alpha male content. It preys on their insecurities and only deepens their issues, rather than helping them grow or find healthy ways to improve. how often people make bold claims without doing any research. It spreads misinformation and creates confusion, making it harder for others to know what's actually true. How approaching someone in public to casually interact has become seen as creepy or weird. The other day, I noticed a younger person wearing a shirt of a band I like, and I just said, "Hey, cool shirt." The reaction was almost like they were about to panic or call the cops. It's sad that we've reached a point where a friendly comment can cause such anxiety. People seem so disconnected from real-life interactions that they're more comfortable texting than engaging in face-to-face conversations. This shift is making simple human connections feel awkward and alien, further isolating us in our digital bubbles. More and more people just giving up and going bare minimum. Understandable, I can't be asked either anymore. Too much weight on everyone these days. How it seems every day people are feeling more comfortable justified displaying their worst selves and being cruel and inconsiderate of others just for the fun of it. Like, if that doesn't stop, I think it will lead to our eventual extinction. Humans need to value other humans more. The lack of compassion for disabled people is deeply troubling. Many face daily challenges, yet society often overlooks or ignores their needs. Instead of offering support or understanding, there's often impatience or indifference, which only adds to their struggles. This lack of empathy reflects poorly on us as a community and shows how far we still have to go in truly supporting those who need it most. It's strange to see how many kids today don't know the difference between woman and women when speaking. It's a simple distinction, yet it's becoming increasingly common for younger generations to mix up these terms. This could be a reflection of how language skills are being deprioritized in education, or perhaps the influence of fast-paced, informal communication online. What's bizarre is that such a basic aspect of language is slipping through the cracks, leading to confusion in everyday conversations. It raises concerns about the overall quality of language education and how we're equipping young people with the tools they need to communicate effectively. What illegal thing do you do on a regular basis? When I was a kid, I thought it was normal that we could buy movies the day after they came out from the Chinese lady in the chicken shop. I didn't realize it was a crime until middle school when I told someone my grandma had Avatar on DVD, and they said that was impossible since the movie was still in theaters. During football season, I provide verbal accounts of the game without consent of the NFL. When I was in college, parking was $500 a semester, which I couldn't afford. I simply went to class each day until I got a parking ticket. I went online, paid the $50 fine, but kept the ticket. Every time I would park on campus, I would toss the ticket out onto my windshield so that the parking police thought I was already ticketed. This worked for 2 years, $1,000 worth of parking for $100. And then I came out of class one day to find 2 tickets and note that said, "Nice try." I jaywalk all the time, even though it's illegal. There's something oddly thrilling about crossing the street wherever I want, and I just can't resist it. It's a small act of rebellion that adds a bit of excitement to my day. I often wonder how many people unknowingly cheat on their taxes simply because they're ignorant of what they're supposed to do or pay. With tax laws being so complex and confusing, it's easy to miss something or make a mistake. I imagine there are countless people out there who, without even realizing it, end up underpaying or not reporting something correctly. It's not always intentional. Sometimes it's just a lack of understanding or access to proper guidance. This makes me think about how the system could be more straightforward, so fewer people fall into this trap. I cut my own hair at home, even though I'm technically not registered as a hairdresser under the 1939 Hairdressers Act. It seems a bit outdated to require registration for something so personal, but technically, I'm breaking the law every time I give myself a trim. It's a harmless act, but it's funny to think about how even small things like this can be considered illegal. Downloading music through YouTube to MP3. Wow, tough to say. I'm generally pretty law-abiding. Great question, though. I guess if I had to pick one thing, though, I'd say murder. I download a new car every other day. I've never shared this with anyone before, but back when I was 15 in 1979, I stole a Ford Mustang in my neighborhood. It was a hot summer night, and as I walked home from a friend's house, I noticed this cool Mustang with a single key sticking out of the driver's door lock. I had always admired that car and couldn't resist the urge to take it for a spin. So after making sure no one was around, I hopped in and drove off. The car was super nice and I spent hours driving around the valley in San Bernardino. Knowing the owner would probably never notice, I returned the car to its spot around 4 a.m., missing about a third of a tank of gas. I kept the key, figuring they'd just think they misplaced it. A couple of weeks later, I did it again. This time, the gas tank was almost empty, so I had to refill it before returning the car. A week later, I took it out for a third time, and this time, I drove it up to Lake Arrowhead because I couldn't resist the idea of driving it on mountain roads. It was an absolute blast until I stopped at a gas station and ran into one of my older brother's friends. He knew I was only 15 and didn't have a license, let alone a vintage sports car. I can't remember the lies I told him, but I knew I was in serious trouble. I rushed back to San Bernardino, filled the tank at a convenience store, and snuck the car back into the driveway. Before leaving, I scribbled a thank you note, telling them how much I loved their car and suggesting they shouldn't leave the key in the door overnight. I even mentioned that I filled the tank for them. Thanks. Oh, and my brother's friend. He never said a word to anyone about seeing me. I let my donkey sleep in the bathtub, which is actually illegal in Arizona. It's a strange law, but I can't resist letting my donkey have a cozy spot to rest. Nice try, FBI. I regularly download movies from pirated sites and use pirated software, fully aware that it's illegal. It's become so easy to access anything online that the temptation is hard to resist. The cost of buying every movie or software I want is just too high, so I often turn to these sites. I know the risks, from potential malware to the legal consequences, but the convenience and savings are hard to ignore. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure, knowing I'm breaking the law every time I click that download button, but it's become a routine part of my digital life. Unfortunately, I've struggled with addiction and have done a lot of drugs, which led me down a dark path filled with criminal activities. At my lowest point, I started a shoplifting ring in my city, which eventually got me caught and arrested. I spent time in jail and I even prostituted myself for drugs and money. The shame I feel from those days is overwhelming, and there are times when I really hate myself for the things I did. But I'm proud to say that I've been clean for 2 years now, and my recovery is my top priority. Every day I work hard to stay on this path and leave that dark chapter of my life behind. Speeding. I buy organic veggies but ring them up as non-organic at the self-checkout. It's a small act of dishonesty, but I can't resist saving a few bucks. I know it's technically stealing, but the price difference adds up, and I justify it by telling myself that it's just vegetables. Still, there's always a bit of guilt when I do it, knowing it's wrong. In The Sims, I often use cheat codes like Kaching or Rosebud to give my characters extra money and avoid financial struggles. It's a harmless way to make the game more enjoyable, but I know it's technically cheating. Instead of working hard to build wealth in the game, I take the shortcut to focus on other aspects of gameplay. It's just too tempting to resist, especially when I want my Sims to live their best lives without the stress of making ends meet. Drugs. I pick up bones out of the woods even though I've heard it's illegal. Honestly, I don't care. There's something fascinating about finding and collecting them, and it's become a bit of a hobby for me. The fact that it's against the law doesn't really bother me, as I see it as a harmless activity. Here it goes. I sped. I followed too closely. I ran a stop sign and almost hit a Chevy. Then, I sped some more. I failed to yield at a crosswalk, changed lanes at an intersection and didn't signal while doing so. To top it off, I ran a red light while speeding. It's a laundry list of reckless driving habits that I'm not proud of, but it's the truth. Every time I get behind the wheel, I know I'm breaking the rules, and yet I keep pushing my luck. It's like I'm always in a rush, and the rules of the road just get in the way. I know it's dangerous, and I've had a few close calls, but I can't seem to slow down and drive responsibly. Also, piracy and anabolic steroids. I always hide snacks in my jacket when I go to the movies. It's technically against the rules, but the prices at the concession stand are just too high. Sneaking in my own treats has become a little tradition, and I can't resist the satisfaction of enjoying my favourite snacks without paying a fortune. When I was younger, my brother and I were driving down the road when we spotted a raccoon that had been hit by a car. We pulled over to see if it was still alive, but unfortunately it wasn't. However, there was a baby raccoon cuddling up to it, trying to find comfort. We felt so bad for the little guy that we decided to take him in. He ended up living with us for about 14 years until he passed away. Apparently, it's illegal to own a raccoon without a license, but raccoons typically only live around 3 years in the wild. So I like to think we gave him a pretty good life, despite the legalities. We lived in a small town and often took him on walks to the park, where he loved interacting with people. He even sat on my shoulder during a local festival parade. We named him Rocky, and he became a beloved member of our family. R.I.P. Rocky, you were a wonderful companion and brought so much joy to our lives. Update. For anyone curious, I posted videos of him on my profile. Nothing, officer. I use Q-tips to clean inside my ear. Drops Q-tip shaped mic. I don't always come to a complete stop at a stop sign. Tossing squirrels down people's pants for gambling purposes. Sail the high seas. I exceed the speed limit 80% of the time I'm behind the wheel. Not because I like driving fast, but because I hate driving. I just want to get it over with. Teleporters can't come soon enough. I downloaded movies from torrent all the time. And TV show. I'm still paying for Netflix, Crunchyroll, Apple TV+, Prime Video, Max and Disney+. But I like to watch the content in my own terms and in a unified UI and not have to figure different apps for each piece of content. So I have a torrent, Plex setup, and I watch what I want, when I want. I have learned so much illegal shit today. Can't wait to use my newfound wisdom. I drove a car without a title, registration or insurance for about 6 years. Going anywhere was constant anxiety of being pulled over. Glad those days are over. In 94s, I had an 87 Toyota Celica in black. It was a really nice car when I bought it, but it had a missing hubcap. Not knowing where to get a replacement, I stole a hubcap from another Celica in my neighbourhood. I was dumb and 17-yo. I drove that car for 2 years until I got into an accident. Since I no longer needed the hubcap, I put it back on the car I stole it from 2 years earlier. I always wondered what the owner thought about it. Smoking weed. It's illegal here, but it's a regular thing for me. There's a stop sign near my house that I blow through all the time or just do a rolling stop because it's a wide open 3-way intersection and you can clearly see for like half a mile in every direction that there are no cars or pedestrians around. It is almost impossible to not violate multiple laws while driving. I was a police officer in the early 90s, and when I was in the academy, we had to learn all the traffic laws. One of the instructors said, "You really need to learn traffic laws because there are so many of them that you can always articulate probable cause to stop someone while they're driving." For instance, in Texas, it's illegal to not stop before crossing a sidewalk when leaving a parking lot. Texas Transportation Code, Section 545-256. I never knew that, and it blew me away. So when you leave the gas station parking lot, if you don't come to stop before you cross the sidewalk, boom, probable cause for a stop. You can get stopped even if you come to a complete stop at a stop sign or traffic light, but don't stop at the designated point. The stop line if present, crosswalk or before your car crosses the stop sign. Texas Transportation Code, Section 544.010. So if your car noses past the stop sign but you completely stop, boom, probable cause for a stop. You have to signal 100 feet before you change lanes. Texas Transportation Code, Section 545.104. So if you hit your blinker and immediately change lanes, boom, probable cause to stop. There is all sorts of insane stuff that literally no one except police officers really remember. Now, police don't generally stop folks for that kind of stuff, unless they're looking for probable cause, but the laws are there. I knew an officer who stopped someone because he said that their wipers were not keeping their windshield clear. A motor vehicle shall be equipped with a device that is operated or controlled by the operator of the vehicle, and that cleans moisture from the windshield. Texas Transportation Code, Section 547.603. Boom, probable cause for a stop. Now multiply that insane legal detail at the city, county, state, and federal level. And it is literally impossible to not violate some laws every day. When students come in looking for a copy of a textbook in the library because they can't afford it in the bookstore, I pirate a digital copy, if I can. Most textbooks are written by lazy professors who get together to publish for tenure. The new editions are so they don't have to work hard to republish, and they're almost always the same damn book with accent colours changed. Fuck that bullshit. Here's a PDF. Learn from it. Improve your mind. Yeah, my dad used to beat me when my friends would burn CDs for me, thinking that the FBI would raid our house for $3 burned CDs of Blink-182 and Incubus and etc. Is pirating still illegal, considering streaming services are not letting us keep the things we buy on them? Magic mushrooms every 6 weeks keep my suicidal thoughts away, also help me rethink my life choices in a positive way. Imo, it's a crime that those are illegal. Edit. For first-time users, I'd recommend grabbing a person you deeply trust, which has a good connection to his and her inner child, spirituality. Or with other words, is emotional in line with his or herself. My favourite location are the local woods. Nature has so many wonders to offer which heal your spirit. Much love to anyone reading. I ran with scissors. Not really regular, but once in a while. Self-checkouts sometimes don't pick up on barcodes. Then, if there's literally no employees around to help, you bet your ass I'm sticking that item in my bag and walking out. I'm not waiting on them to actually do their jobs. It's only illegal if I get caught. And the chances of getting caught go up exponentially with each person being told. So I'm not telling this sub for sure. I'd like to plead the second the right to arm bears. I live in Canada. Basically, everything is illegal, just not prosecuted. Here are a list of illegal things I've done. Moving a bird's nest, even an empty one in the middle of the winter. Moving wood or anything that falls from a tree. Trimming a tree. Cutting down a tree. Having or operating a BB gun. Picking a flower. Pumping water from your flooded property into a drain. Having a yard sale, selling anything intended for consumption without a permit, lemonade stand, hot dog stand, etc. Parking your car, speeding, changing lanes close to an intersection, rolling stops at stop signs, carrying your own alcoholic drink from one place to another, like relocating from the bar to a table. I run this red light at the bottom of the hill by my house. The light is well under 40 feet from the stop line and impossible to see from the vehicle, even my truck, which is higher up. So at night, when no one is around, I just treat it like a stop sign. Touch myself. That shit must be illegal because no one else does it, lol. I'm married outside of my race and we own a home against our racist CCNRs. I commit menacing, the act of threatening to hurt or kill somebody, on a daily basis. I mostly just do it as a joke towards my friend, but I still technically commit it. I occasionally let my parking meter expire if I'm running a few minutes late, especially if there's no risk of a ticket. It's a minor infraction, but I try to be mindful of it. I understand that laws are in place for a reason, but sometimes life gets in the way, and we end up bending the rules a bit. Who is a conventionally unattractive person that you find very attractive? There's a girl at one of my jobs. She's got nothing going for her in the looks department. But she's so damn funny and fun to talk to that she low-key has my heart throbbing. I could easily spend my entire shift talking to her. I normally suck at small talk and wouldn't get bored. I feel like Willem Dafoe deserves a mention here. He's got one of those faces that's incredibly distinctive. Not your conventional Hollywood leading man look, but the guy's got a magnetic screen presence and an intensity that just works. Plus, his roles in films like The Lighthouse really showcase how he can transform that unique appearance into something spellbinding. He's like a fine wine, just gets more intriguing with age. I made it all the way to the bottom looking for this name, but apparently I am all alone. Bob Hoskins, you were my first ever celebrity crush. For those that don't know the name, he played Eddie Valiant, main non-toon character, in Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Bark, bark, bark. Matt Berry. While he's more on the average side than conventionally unattractive, there's just something about him. Every time I see him, I can't help but think, absolutely would. His charm and unique style make him incredibly appealing, even if he doesn't fit the typical mold of attractiveness. Greg Davies, the Taskmaster. I've seen clips of him from when he was younger and clean-shaven, and honestly, I didn't find him attractive at all back then. But as he's aged, he's turned into one hell of a silver fox. His personality plays a big role in that transformation too. There's just something about his sassy swagger and confident presence that really amps up his appeal. He's grown into his looks in a way that makes him stand out, and that mix of humour and charm is what makes him genuinely hot now. Matt Smith. He has this unique, almost otherworldly look, and honestly, he kind of looks like the Antichrist. But that's exactly what I find so attractive about him. His unconventional appearance gives him an edge that's really appealing, making him stand out in a crowd. Bill Hader. While he might not be conventionally unattractive, he's tall with a pretty rockin' jawline, he's definitely not your typical pretty boy either. What really draws me to him is his humour. His impeccable impressions, fully embodied characters, and absurdist comedy are just brilliant. Beyond that, he's a thoughtful and introspective person who genuinely loves stupid, silly things, which is incredibly endearing. Plus, the episodes of Barry that he directed are simply incredible. They're not just funny, but also unique in their visual storytelling and creative choices. He's got a mix of talent, depth, and quirkiness that makes him incredibly attractive. Edit, Welp. This was my first comment to reach 1K, and I got an award. The people have spoken. Bill Hader is fucking sexy, and you can take that to the bank. Thank you. I realise I have a hard time knowing what conventionally attractive looks like. I just think most women are really pretty. I am a straight man, but I long for the embrace of John Goodman. Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi. He might not fit the traditional standards of attractiveness, but there's something undeniably captivating about him. His unique look, combined with his incredible acting talent and offbeat charm, makes him stand out. I'm ready to defend my admiration for him any day. Alan Rickman. I fell for him when I was in middle school after watching Sense and Sensibility. That evening is still vivid in my memory. I was at my best friend's house, and one of her family friends took us out to get snacks. We picked up some dragon fruit, which felt so exotic at the time. We had the best movie night, and Rickman's performance just captivated me. His deep voice, the way he carried himself, and that subtle yet powerful presence left a lasting impression. To this day, he holds a special place in my list of celebrity crushes. His charm was truly unique, and I'll always remember him fondly. May he rest in peace. Current age, Toni Collette. Sure, she was attractive in The Sixth Sense, but now, I think she's incredibly hot, especially in Knives Out. There's something about the way she's aged that's just stunning. She carries herself with such confidence and has this powerful presence that makes her even more appealing now than when she was younger. Her talent as an actress only adds to her allure, making her one of those rare people who become more attractive with time. In Knives Out, she absolutely stole the show for me with her charisma and those intense, expressive eyes. Bill Hader. As a guy, I have to say Jack Black. He's never been conventionally attractive, even when he was younger, but damn if that man doesn't ooze confidence. There's something incredibly appealing about the way he carries himself, with that infectious energy and self-assuredness. His sense of humor and charisma just make him stand out, proving that confidence really is key when it comes to attraction. I find Mads Mikkelsen rather attractive, but my wife strongly disagrees, so I'm putting him on this list. There's something about his sharp features and that intense gaze that really draws me in. He's got this brooding, mysterious vibe that makes him stand out from more conventionally attractive actors. Whether he's playing a villain or a more nuanced character, he brings a certain depth and magnetism to the screen that I can't help but admire. My wife might not see it, but for me, Mads has a unique appeal that goes beyond just looks. It's in the way he carries himself, the subtlety in his performances, and that undeniable presence. Edit, we are lesbians. XD, please don't hate on her. Neither of us find very many men attractive, but I do think Mads is attractive, especially for his age. Kate Micucci from Garfunkel and Oates. She's not unattractive by any means, but I think most people wouldn't see her as a conventional beauty queen. For me, though, she's absolutely adorable and incredibly sexy. There's something about her quirky charm and unique look that makes her stand out. Her sense of humor, combined with that sweet, almost childlike demeanor, adds to her appeal in a way that's hard to define, but impossible to ignore. She might not fit the traditional mold of Hollywood beauty, but her personality and presence make her someone I find irresistibly attractive. Vincent D'Onofrio. He's definitely not unattractive, but he doesn't fit the typical Hollywood mold. There's something about his rugged, unconventional charm that has had me crushing on him for years. His strong presence and versatility as an actor make him stand out, and I find him incredibly appealing in a way that's different from the usual Hollywood stars. Harvey Keitel. Years ago, I watched The Piano. At the beginning of the movie, I thought was sort of dumpy. Later in the movie, I was wildly turned on by him. Not unattractive, but by Hollywood standards very mom-next-door type, but to me, Judy Greer is super sexy. Peter fucking Dinklage. I would let him do ridiculous things to me. You ever notice how Adrian Brody has a certain je ne sais quoi about him? The guy's got a nose that could carve through a Shakespearean tragedy, yet he exudes a suave allure that's hard to ignore. There's something about his brooding artist vibe that completely defies the typical cookie-cutter pretty boy trope. His looks may be unconventional, but that's what makes him so captivating. And then there's his performance in The Pianist. The sheer emotional depth he brought to that role was nothing short of remarkable. Adrian Brody's appeal is a perfect example of how charisma and talent can cast a much longer shadow than mere aesthetic perfection. I don't think Janeane Garofalo is unattractive by conventional standards, but in my opinion, she punches way above her weight class in terms of hotness. There's something about her wit, attitude, and unique style that makes her incredibly attractive, far beyond just her looks. She's got a charm that's hard to beat. Tilda Swinton. Her androgynous and utterly unique appearance places her squarely in my uncanny valley. Yet somehow, she also manages to strike that hot spot perfectly. There's something mesmerizing about her otherworldly looks that just draws me in. Then there's Danny Trejo. His face is rough, weathered by time and experience, but there's an undeniable, almost primal sexiness about him. I never imagined someone with such a rugged appearance could be so captivating, but he pulls it off effortlessly. And I can't forget to mention my honourable mentions: Geoffrey Rush, Steve Buscemi, and Christopher Walken. Each of them, with their unconventional looks and magnetic personalities, has a unique appeal that defies traditional standards of attractiveness. Bob Odenkirk. He's funny and talented as fuck, that's all I need. In the same vein, Nathan Fielder and Norm Macdonald could rock my world. Jenny Slate. She's not conventionally unattractive, but she doesn't usually land the leading lady hot roles. However, I think she's absolutely adorable. There's something about her quirky charm and unique voice that makes her incredibly endearing and attractive in her own way. Adam Driver, I love that face. I had a huge crush on Gene Wilder. There was something about him that was just irresistible. He wasn't your typical Hollywood heartthrob, but his sense of humor and kind nature made him incredibly attractive. His ability to make people laugh, combined with that gentle, almost whimsical demeanor, was such a winning combination for me. Every time I watched him on screen, I couldn't help but be drawn to his unique charm. He had this way of making you feel like he genuinely cared, and that's what made him stand out in a sea of more conventionally attractive actors. Amy Sedaris. She's known for playing unattractive, quirky characters, often embracing the role of weirdos and oddballs. Despite that, I find her incredibly charming and unique. Her ability to fully embody those eccentric roles makes her all the more appealing, with a sense of humor that's just irresistible. But when she's off-screen, or just looking like herself, she's really adorable and conventionally attractive. I haven't seen her yet, but wasn't Sigourney Weaver told multiple times that she wasn't pretty enough? It's wild to think anyone could say that because she's absolutely smoking hot in everything I've seen her in, especially Galaxy Quest. There's just something about her strong, commanding presence that makes her incredibly attractive. At 74, she's still got that fierce energy, and honestly, I'm betting she could still beat the shit out of me, and I'm super into that. There's a confidence and strength she carries that goes beyond conventional beauty, making her one of the most captivating women in Hollywood. Willem Dafoe. He's definitely not your conventional Hollywood heartthrob, but I've been crushing on him for years. There's something about his intense gaze and unique features that make him incredibly compelling. His charisma and the way he fully embodies every role he takes on only add to his allure. I'm a straight dude, but Walton Goggins fits the bill for me. Noel Fielding would be my first choice, hands down. He's even joked, "I've got a face like a pointy witch." But that's part of what makes him so intriguing. His quirky charm, unique style, and offbeat humor make him incredibly attractive in a way that's hard to resist. The mum from Malcolm in the Middle. I had a huge crush on John Lithgow, and I think it all started with Terms of Endearment. There's something about his warm, genuine presence that really drew me in. He's not conventionally handsome, but his talent and charm make him incredibly appealing. Andy Samberg has always had this reputation of being a somewhat meh-looking goofball, but honestly, I've always loved the way he looks. There's something incredibly endearing about his goofy charm and infectious energy. He's got this boy-next-door appeal that's hard to resist, and his sense of humor just amplifies his attractiveness. Even though he's not the typical Hollywood pretty boy, his unique combination of looks and personality makes him stand out in the best possible way. I think his charm is what really seals the deal. Really. Apparently, a lot of people think Lady Gaga is unattractive, but I've always found her gorgeous. She's definitely an oddball, with her unique style and daring fashion choices, but that's part of what makes her so captivating. Her confidence and individuality shine through in everything she does, and that makes her incredibly attractive to me. Gaga has this rare combination of talent, creativity, and boldness that sets her apart from the typical standards of beauty. Even if she doesn't fit everyone's idea of conventional attractiveness, there's no denying her magnetic presence and how she owns her look. Secondary, Kathy Bates is getting better with age. She was a bit rough in Misery, but she looks damn good. especially for her age in American horror stories. I think Rachel Dratch is so fucking hot. Nick Offerman. He's not conventionally a 10, but there's so much more to him than looks. The fact that he's in touch with his emotions and is an actual carpenter makes him incredibly attractive. The idea that he can be empathetic to my feelings and also build me a house, that's a total panty dropper. There's something undeniably sexy about a man who's both ruggedly skilled and emotionally aware. It's that combination of hands-on capability and deep sensitivity that makes him stand out, and it's why he's such a unique and appealing figure. Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has a kind of naivete that's incredibly endearing. He's not traditionally handsome, but his innocent and quirky nature makes him really charming. There's something about his childlike optimism and offbeat personality that just draws you in, making him surprisingly attractive in his own unique way. I've never understood why more people don't find Tina Fey attractive. To me, she's one of the most beautiful women in entertainment. Her intelligence and wit are part of what make her so appealing, but she also has a natural beauty that often gets overlooked. There's something incredibly captivating about her. Whether it's her sharp sense of humor, her confidence, or just the way she carries herself. She doesn't fit the typical Hollywood mold, but that's exactly what makes her stand out. I've always thought she's stunning, both inside and out. Everyone I know thinks he's unattractive, but people on Reddit seem to disagree. Cillian Murphy, though, he is a beautiful man. There's something mesmerizing about his sharp features and those intense blue eyes. He has this mysterious, almost ethereal quality that sets him apart, making him incredibly captivating. Has anybody said Norman Reedus yet? OMG Ed Harris can't explain, but he has it. I've kind of always had a thing for Tommy Lee Jones. He's definitely getting older now, approaching 80, but back in the 90s, especially in The Fugitive, I had a huge crush on him, even when I was just 14. There was something about his rugged, no-nonsense demeanor and those deep, expressive eyes that really drew me in. He wasn't the typical Hollywood heartthrob, but that made him all the more appealing to me. His strong presence and the way he carried himself just oozed confidence, and I found that incredibly attractive. ITT, conventionally attractive people and conventionally attractive people who have simply aged. It's interesting how some people's appeal evolves with time, but they've always had that undeniable charm, whether in their youth or as they've grown older. Age doesn't take away from their attractiveness, it just adds a different layer to it. Jeff Goldblum, Adrian Brody. I like a strong nose on a man. Joaquin Phoenix is one of those actors who doesn't fit neatly into the category of conventionally attractive. But to me, he's absolutely stunning. He's got conventionally beautiful features, sure, but there's something deeper that sets him apart. A lot of my friends say they don't see it, but I can't help but be captivated by his unique beauty. It's not just about his looks. It's the intensity he brings to his roles, his mysterious aura, and that unmistakable presence. There's a raw, almost untamed quality to him that makes him stand out, and I find that incredibly attractive. I feel like Benedict Cumberbatch isn't usually considered conventionally attractive, but I personally think he's fine as hell. There's something about his sharp features and that deep, resonant voice that's incredibly alluring. His unique look, combined with his talent and charisma, makes him stand out in the best way. Natasya Dimitriou isn't conventionally unattractive, but she's not your typical Hollywood hot either. For me, that's what makes her even more appealing. She's hilariously charismatic, with a sharp wit that just draws you in. Her gorgeous eyes and hair are hard to miss, but it's her unique personality and comedic timing that really make her stand out. She has this magnetic presence that's not based on conventional beauty standards, but rather on the way she carries herself and the energy she brings to every role. It's that combination of charm, humor, and natural beauty that makes her truly captivating. Woody Harrelson and William Dafoe come to mind. Jean Reno, Christopher Maloney. Natasha Lyonne has this wild, untamed look with her crazy, unhoused hair and those hunched, secret-hiding shoulders that just add to her charm. Her distinct smoker's drawl and accent are the icing on the cake. She's not your typical Hollywood beauty, but there's something incredibly captivating about her. That combination of raw energy and uniqueness makes her stand out in a way that's hard to resist. She's got a vibe that's all her own, and that's what makes her so attractive. She doesn't conform to the usual standards, and she owns every bit of who she is. Not sure if it counts, but I've had the biggest crush on Kate Micucci for ages. There's something about her quirky charm and sweet demeanor that just gets me every time. I still get those giggly butterfly feelings whenever I listen to her album. She's got this adorable, down-to-earth vibe that's incredibly endearing. Most answers on here be like, Margot Robbie is such an uggo, but I would... For years, I had a massive crush on David Bowie as the Goblin King, those pants. I didn't really find him attractive in other stuff, only as the Goblin King, the hair, the eyeshadow, the swag, and again, those pants. Jason Alexander. I'm a straight male, but I've got to admit, Jason Alexander is low-key handsome. There's something about his charm and humor that's surprisingly attractive. If he ever made a pass, I might just have to question my sexuality. He's got that kind of unexpected appeal. I used to have a thing for Seth Rogen. That smile, his personality, and that ridiculous stoner laugh. There's just something so endearing about him. I'm drawn to fun, easygoing people, and Seth's sense of humor and laid-back vibe make him really attractive in a unique way. Alfred Molina. I don't think he's unattractive by any means, but compared to Hollywood's Chris Hemsworth standards, I guess he's unconventional. I was around 12 or 13 when I first saw him in Spider-Man 2 as Doc Ock, and he became my first crush. There was something about his charisma, the way he carried himself, that just drew me in. Seeing him run around shirtless in a trench coat, smoking cigars, completely rewired my brain. That mix of intellect and raw power was incredibly appealing, and it left a lasting impression on me. When I saw him return in No Way Home, all those childhood crush feelings came rushing back. There's just something about him that's so endearing and captivating, and I still think he's very cute. His presence, both on and off screen, has a certain charm that's hard to find, and it's stuck with me all these years. Edit. I am absolutely thrilled to discover we all have a crush on Doc Ock.